There is this sense of a spiritual journey. But the one that's journeying is already home. And that it's just this movement of consciousness that can dance in separation or unity. We come to realise that it was a journey for no one. So instead of our attention being on the ever-changing objects, the drama of life, however it's shaping, we've got a chance to see that we can turn towards the one that's looking. The one that's aware of it all. But this awareness is actually a universal self-viewing, infinite being looking through your eyes. There never was a separate self. It was just an experience. So if our attention is turned towards the looker, we get a chance to see that even the looker dissolves, that what we are fundamentally is prior to form, prior to the shaping and patterning, the coming and going, the dance of separation, all the lack, all the resistance to what was happening, the judgments, the needing it to be different, was just being seen through this filter of a separate self that doesn't exist. It's just an experience like a virtual reality headset. So it's to see what's looking through, what's having this separate self experience, is the infinite being. So can we turn towards that one? Can we recognise that what we are was never separate, never lost, never left home? So I guess what happened for me was there was always this seeking outside of myself. And in a moment of just relaxation, so you could say that I was surrendering to the moment. And then as the sun hit my face, I just didn't need the moment to be any other way. So mental activity wasn't challenging the moment, wasn't pulling me away from the moment. And that's when I had the recognition that I'd always been searching outside of myself for presence. And there was this spontaneous flip, this experience of, oh, or this realization of, oh, I am the presence. I've always been looking for presence, practicing presence when I've got busy thoughts. But actually, when I let go of the thoughts, when the thoughts drop, we are naturally in our true nature. We're not in the mental realm. We're experiencing ourselves unfiltered. We're not identifying with thoughts. So people are experiencing their true nature all day, every time your thoughts drop. But it's just not tangible like the separate self experience. It's just not, it's very subtle because it's what you are. So it's not apart from you. We're used to going towards forms for that denser mode of experience. So our true nature is often overlooked. You know, they often say it's so close we miss it because it's not loud, it's not dense. It's what we're always experiencing. So if I say, are you aware? You're just aware. It's just this sense of being aware. And that is how our true nature plays in the world of duality. That we can just be, and we can just recognize that there's an awareness that's an aware of all the forms arising, all the thoughts, feelings, emotions. But really it's to surrender to the fact that you're already home, that there's nothing to get. So we're not reaching for a better moment. just like I wasn't. That we're just relaxed down and being. And you might notice that your true nature is there all along. That it's the most simplest and obvious thing, because it's what we are. It's not apart from us. So if we have thoughts arising that your true nature is apart from you, that's just because that just gives us an experience of it not being here. Because our attention is on the thoughts rather than towards what we are, rather than recognizing that we are the awareness that's aware of the thoughts, feelings, emotions, the push and pull of resistance, the clenching of needing the moment to be another way, the roller coaster rides of emotions that go with all the thoughts of a separate me that's lost in the world, or that's seeking, or that doesn't feel whole, or feels like there's something not quite right, that I don't feel at peace, at ease, and that I'm looking for home, I'm looking for the truth, or however it's shaping for you. You know, there may be this longing. If you are on the spiritual journey, then there will have already been this longing to be home, this longing for truth, this recognition there's something not quite right. So yeah, that's how it first unfolded for me. That instead of looking outside of myself, there was a chance to see that I am what I'm looking for. But that wasn't the end of the journey. There was still this sense of believing my thoughts that were coming to a me, even though there was some recognition that the thoughts weren't always true, and that you know, they're more beliefs, they're more concepts and ideas. They're made up of things we've learned, society's told us. So, but we tend to take them, and then we allow this mental activity to be the authority on what's happening, rather than just having a look at actually what's going on, what's aware of the thoughts, and what are the thoughts actually telling me. You know, they can be based in needing to control the moment, if we feel we're in that separate self mode that's based in lack and limitation, because that's how it feels. Because your true nature that's looking through your eyes is just somehow creating an experience of separation for itself through these identification with thoughts, through this idea of a me. So it becomes a chance to see if there is friction, if there is a denser experience that doesn't feel good, what's actually happening. Are these thoughts true? Are they serving me? Or are they keeping me bound? Are they causing resistance? And then what's actually looking? What's actually aware of these thoughts? Can we turn towards that one? So I reached out to David Bingham, and he just helps people to recognize the truth of their being. He just gently points to what's obvious. And that seems to be what's happened for me. There's this, because once you've recognized the truth of your being, that you're actually free, there's this pull to share, pull to help others that are suffering in the world of duality. And then you can help life, as it shapes and forms, to recognize the truth of its being. And it's just life looking after life. And David pointed out there's something that's never changed. And I recognised that because I'd always noticed that. I'd always thought about how come there's something that's never changed no matter how old I get. The physical body changes, but the awareness doesn't. It's timeless, ageless. So from when you were 5, 10, 25, all those birthdays, the big milestones, what's looking through your eyes remains the same. It's changeless, and it's looking at all the ever-changing. It's the never-changing, aware of all the ever-changing. You know, and our true nature is all we've ever been. Just this pure awareness, aware of all of the forms, shapes, and patterns, thoughts, feelings and emotions, sensations, sounds. They all come and go, but what remains is the awareness of them. So it's just to turn towards this awareness and recognize that it's actually unbound, it's impersonal, but it can have a personal experience. So we don't deny the personal experience. It just enriches the personal experience. That we get to see we don't suffer, however life's shaped, because it's going to be up and down, it's going to be a roller coaster ride, but we don't suffer. It just has the potential to shape and pattern in any way. But we recognize that we're untouched. That wasn't immediate for me. It's taken a while on this journey for no one, because we recognize when we wake up that nobody woke up and nobody left home. That what we are is just pure awareness that's aware of all of this, journeying home. We come to realize all those stepping stones home, all those recognitions are just how this can dance. Even when the truth's been seen, we seem to have more and more insights. They call it a deepening or a integration, but it's integration for nobody. It's integration for the human experience. For life having a human experience. That's what the integration is for. It's in the world of duality. And it's very, very valuable to see what you are fundamentally in your ground of being, when you're not based in the head, when you drop down into the body and feel into the contact points. And that we just directly experience what we are without any mental activity. We get to see that there's just one thing here, shaping and patterning. And we tend to carve it all up and create the separation on this seamless tapestry. All these threads appearing, weaving, are all born from the same source. The same one self appearing. Just being here now. Sounds are arising. Gentle breeze on my face. It's all appearing in awareness. There are spontaneous words appearing, that's effortless being. And on this spiritual journey, I can't say from the first moment of recognition that it was effortless, because we have this habit of going towards mental activity and believing it's a me. I never lost the recognition of true nature, but there was that pull towards thoughts. There was that denser mode of experience. And we pick up a thought and then resist the moment. There was that. But there was always the recognition, hang on a minute, what is this? How come this is still being experienced? And the way we look through that, the way we see the truth of that, is to remain in being. We can't enter mental activity to try and work it out. We just rest in being. And then with this open focus, we can see we were just believing thoughts. Or there was just this recognition, this habit to go towards certain thoughts that we'd been identified with in the past that conditioned, the conditioned me experience. It's not quite believed in anymore, but it can still dance. And it just gets less and less the more we recognize the truth of our being, the more we turn towards what we are, directly experience what we are without mental activity. And it's a sort of a surrendering to something that's already surrendered. What we are is vast and open, just like the sky. We turn towards that spaciousness that we are. And we just allow all the forms, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sounds, sensations to appear and disappear. We start to recognize that what we are is always here, the truth of our being. We never leave it, it's just an experience we can have. And who's experiencing that is our true nature, or an extension of our true nature, a rising up of a separate self born out of this consciousness, the ability of consciousness to shape and pattern itself, to create form, thought forms, words, sounds. experience. Really, this is just a field of experience with no actual separate self-experiencer. It's just experience. Just one huge experience with no experiencer. One great display. And we feel like we are the separate self-experiencer, but we are the entire view. We are everything that's shaping and patterning. And this is seen if we go from not subject-object, not looking out towards something, but allowing our attention to be rested in being and see that we are the space in which everything's appearing. And we are also that gives birth to all the appearances, all of the comings and goings. We are that. So there's this sense of I am, just being here now. This I amness, just this. That's effortless being. That's experiencing the human experience. Appearing as a human, but recognizing we're actually formless awareness. Aware of the human experience, the separate self-experience. So we can be aware of this body-mind, which can be a little bit like a vehicle for us to experience. But we recognize we never become a separate self, body-mind. It's just this shaping and patterning. You can see somebody coming now. You can see them moving, the door. And it's just this shaping and patterning. It's quite funny. And there can be this, how do I deal with thoughts? If you feel pulled into mental activity all the time, just because we're used to focusing on the thoughts, how do we deal with thoughts? How do we not pick up thoughts? And I would offer it's to recognize who are the thoughts coming to rest in effortless being until we recognize that the thoughts are coming to this empty space and this spaciousness, so they can just blow through, that what we are is untouched and open. So it's only our attention going towards the thoughts. And I remember struggling with this, thinking, well, don't pick up thoughts, they're just like clouds, and then I would concentrate on the clouds. So it's not to concentrate on the thoughts and see them that we've got to get rid of them. It's to see they're just not relevant, because who are they coming to? This separate self experience that they are born out of doesn't exist. So these invitations to experience aren't coming to anybody, they're just suggestions. Life is just suggesting to itself that it could have this separate self experience. So it's to recognize what you are, turn towards what you are, this spaciousness, and then not go towards the thoughts, but not resist the thoughts, because then we're engaging. So let's not invest in this separate self-me. Let's just see that the thoughts are coming to nobody. And these things we just have to see over and over again until we just don't believe in that separate self-experience anymore. We just don't believe in the separate self-me. It's very easy to reframe this I, to frame it, to set ourselves, to fix ourselves, to see ourselves as separate again and fixed. So in order not to reframe ourselves, it's to keep seeing through that fixed experience when things get dense, to not pick up that separate self, to recognize that it's just an experience. It's not who you are. If you have picked it up, then don't tell yourself off, because that would be the separate self. That would be more thoughts about picking it up, and that feels as if you're back in the game of the separate self. So if you do pick up thoughts and then recognize you're picking up thoughts, it's to is to let go of that, is to recognize that you're already awake, that you're not in the dream of a me anymore, that you've woken up from the dream of a me. But like I said, if you pick up a why did I do that? That is a thought of a me again. So there are going to be thoughts, there can be wisdom, there can be suggestions on the moment, inspiration, inspired thoughts. This is how I'm creating this video, just inspiration. So just inspired thoughts. But you don't really manage the thoughts. That's quite important, because I remember that stage of thinking, of getting inspiration and then trying to manage it, trying to think, oh, I've got to do something with this. Can you see there's a slight reframing of a me that feels like it's got to do something with the thoughts? So yeah, if you do get inspired thoughts, you're somebody that's very creative, be careful not to pick up a manager, a separate self-me that feels like, oh great, I've got to do this now. There's sort of a contraction around an eye that's got to do something with this. How can I make this into something? And then there's that mental activity again. Instead of just inspired thought, thinking, oh okay, let's see how that unfolds effortlessly. We sort of pick up a manager, and I've done that, so that's how I can report to you not to pick up a manager. Sack the manager. Because it's not effortless then. So if there's ever any effort, it's to see we're just picking up this doer, this manager, who feels like it knows how it should be, and it all gets really sticky, and there can be frustration, it's not going right, and because we're just limiting what we are, creating a limited experience instead of an experience of flow.